Welcome in, everybody. Good evening. I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich. You're tuned in to Live Weather Impact this evening. I am here now is May 4th, so May the 4th be with you for all you Star Wars fans out there. It's crazy to think it's already May. It's really been a crazy spring because we haven't had any rain and we haven't had any storms, but that could be changing this week. And as we've mentioned, Tim and I, several times on the show, May is kind of the last month where we can make any inroads at all in the drought. It's not going away, but boy, it would be nice to at least put a dent in it before we get into the summer months. So your weather impacts tonight, last couple of nights, I'll be honest with you, I've loved this weather. These evenings and mornings, the chill in the air, free air conditioning, the days have been gorgeous. Today was pretty much what I would call a Chamber of Commerce day. Barely got to 80 degrees after a morning low in the 40s. That is amazing. Tuesday, warming back up. We're going to be in the low 80s. The thing we're going to notice middle of the week, and I won't say this often, so you can hold me to this. This is a rare statement from my lips. We want it to be humid. We want the mugginess to return. That will help us with shower and thunderstorm chances, and that's going to happen late Wednesday into Thursday, and I actually think we could have some thunderstorms, so something we haven't seen a lot of so far. This evening, gorgeous sunset, by the way, sunset tonight, 8:11 p.m., getting later and later, and interesting factoid, today's sun angle is exactly the same as it is in July. So if you're wondering why I get sunburned so easily here in the spring, that's why. The sun angle is very high right now. So if you're heading out to Truist this week or any outdoor activities, make sure you're loading up on the sunscreen. It's still very dry. That's why it feels so good even at 80 degrees. Dew points are in the 30s and 40s. So with that dry air and somewhat clear skies, even though temperatures are hovering close to 80 degrees right now, we eventually are going to cool down into the 50s overnight. Not quite as cool as the 30s and 40s we had the last couple of mornings. We actually had some frost Sunday morning. I know I had some when I woke up at my house. The low 80s tomorrow, southwest winds certainly starting to warm back up. But this is the best graphic of the whole show. Rain chances, not just once, but 2 times in the next 7 days. And unlike last 7 days where we had light rain chances, these could be substantial. At least somebody's going to get some decent rain out of this. We're talking maybe a half an inch plus for a lot of folks. In some areas could see over an inch of rain. So remember, kind of the criteria for me, we got to get an inch of rain per week to do anything with the drought to help your plants. So getting to that 1 inch in a 7-day period would be absolutely amazing. So kind of breaking down these impacts, scattered showers and storms, maybe a few thunderstorms blended in there, as I mentioned, Wednesday night into Thursday. Rainfall amounts will vary greatly from a quarter to an inch to maybe an inch of rain. No washouts, but much needed rainfall will be on the way for some folks. Severe weather-wise, we're not anticipating any severe storms right now. The timing of this is really in the coolest part of the day, so this will kind of offset any severe weather risk. Looked a little more promising for maybe some heavier rain. We were actually briefly in the low excessive rainfall outlook. They've actually scaled that back. I think that more has to do with our current conditions of just no moisture in the soil. And so, and while it is true, dry ground like this can cause runoff to be exaggerated. Because this is coming at us in waves, it actually could be the perfect soaking rains. And here's what I'm talking about. This is the graphic that'll tell you everything you know. Futurecast, again, this is a recent model run. We run this guidance every 3 or 4 hours, so this will be updated several times. Wednesday, maybe some morning showers. I don't anticipate much. I do anticipate Wednesday afternoon and evening the potential for scattered showers and thunderstorms. They'll be very isolated, but overnight, Wednesday night into Thursday morning, this is the time frame. Notice the pockets of heavy rain that are going to be sweeping in from the west. 3 o'clock in the morning. Now, you're probably wondering, is this going to impact the morning commute Thursday? We're having that discussion in-house as well. There could be pockets of heavy rain, but a lot of this could happen before the commute even starts. And overnight rain, just like the watering restrictions, do the watering overnight when there's lower evaporation rates and less wind. This is the best time of day for rain to fall right now because it'll soak in and it has less impact on that morning commute. By 7 a.m., most of the rain's kind of out of here. And then we see another wave try to develop in the afternoon. And this is an interesting phenomenon. This is a backdoor cold front coming in from the north. So those showers and storms could be moving north to south. How much rain? Now, these specific numbers, you're going to see your city or town or something close to it and go, that's how much I'm getting. That's not how much you're getting. This is a general idea. I want you to look at the spread. Some areas like Wilkesboro, not getting a lot. Most other areas around a half an inch, but a few spots, 1 to 2 inches. There's certainly going to be somebody that's going to get a boatload of rain, but a lot of us are going to be more in that quarter to half inch range. So just know that going into this, that not everybody is going to get a soaking rain out of this, but it is a good chance some of us will. Now, if you're going out to the Truist this week, Wednesday into Thursday, those are the time frames of probably thunderstorm risks. Lightning is always an issue out there. Heavy rain can delay the tournament, but it doesn't normally have a big issue. It's more the lightning. It's all safety issues. So unless water starts standing on those greens, they will not have a delay out there unless it's lightning. So here's a look at your Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast. Notice that backdoor front on Thursday cools us back down into the upper 60s on Friday. So kind of a brief little wedge setup. And then the weekend, boy, just picture Mother's Day weekend, Truist weekend, upper 70s near 80, sunshine, morning lows in the 50s. That is amazing weather for the upcoming weekend. And notice Monday, another chance of rain. So a decent chance Wednesday, Thursday, and maybe again next Monday, and temperatures staying in the 70s to near 80. So we're going to talk about drought. We're going to talk about the hurricane season. We've got Hurricane Awareness Week. So we'll talk about all that coming up with Tim right after the break. So stick around.
Weather Impact Live with Brad Panovich is sponsored by Moisture Lock. Crawl space, basement, and foundation repair experts serving the Carolinas since 1988.
Tired of all this rain? Does your yard look like a swamp after it rains? Hi, I'm Greg Doggett with Moisture Lock, Charlotte's premier waterproofing and foundation repair company. The longer water sits, the softer soil will become. This can cause foundation issues. If you're having drainage issues, contact Moisture Lock. We'll get the water away from your home and out of your yard.
Moisture Lock. Stabilize, enhance, protect.
Welcome back, everybody. Tim Buckley joins me, as always, from WFMY on this Monday, May the 4th, Tim. I was saying that in my local forecast. Can't believe it's May 4th already. It's hard to believe it's already here. And I think many reasons it feels weird that it's already May 4th is just, I think it has a lot to do with the drought, which we'll talk about. Obviously, it's a big story. It just hasn't felt like spring because we haven't had any rain or thunderstorms. So the fact that we're already to May feels like we're behind schedule or something,
Yeah, it's weird because it can feel that way. It can feel behind schedule. Or we already had May with temperatures.
Yeah,
because in
that's true.
April, we had, 16, 17, 80-degree days or something.
Yeah.
And now we got cold again. So it's just that weather that, doing what it wants to do. Hopefully, will sort itself out in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, weather whiplash, as we like to say, and it really has been in the last 7 days at least. You're right. April and March were super warm, and now it's like we're finally getting April weather now that May has gotten here. So, but it is the beginning of May, and we're about a month out, believe it or not, from the start of the Atlantic hurricane season on June 1st. And this week is a big week here across North Carolina and really all the Carolinas. It's Hurricane Preparedness Week, Tim, and I'm a big proponent of this. This is one of my biggest things that I try to preach all the time is getting prepared way ahead of storms. And it might seem weird to talk about this in May or even June when it's just the beginning, but the beginning of the season is a time to prepare, not when the storms actually form. So I think this is a great week for people to take stock and kind of get ready for the upcoming season.
Yeah, it's a good, and there's not anybody in North Carolina who's untouched by hurricane impacts. We all have a storm that's impacted us in many ways in our memories, whether that be in the recent couple of years, whether it be 10 years ago, 20 years ago. North Carolinians know what hurricanes can do. We have those memories, and we know the variety of impacts that they bring, from the horrible inland flooding to the coastal problems to the tornadoes sometimes.
Yeah.
We get every kind of weather out of these storms, and they really can be moments in time that change parts of the state and be, history makers, unfortunately. So it's good to be ready.
Yeah, it's amazing that all the new people that move to the Carolinas, and I feel like I have to educate everybody, like, hurricanes are a thing here. They're not just on the coast. They affect everybody. And so it's a good time to prepare. And the great thing is, Tim, we talked about preparation kits today on air. And these preparedness kits, these first aid kits put together, they work for any kind of weather. We talked about it during the winter storms, the ice storm, getting all that stuff together. These are multi-use kits. So if you put it together now, don't think you're wasting your time, because you will use that at some point, whether it's for a hurricane, a tornado, a flood, or maybe an ice storm. You just never know, Tim. So it's a good idea to have that kit ready to go.
Not going to go to waste. It's always good to have it ready to go. And like you said, they last for a long time. So it's not something that is going to be a waste of your time, your family's time. Plus, it's a good opportunity to educate the kids. And, sometimes the weather, it can leave us stuck doing different things for many days. And so it's good to have all those things in mind. And, for the Carolinas and our part of the state, Brad, it's really mostly, you really want to know your flood risk and all that stuff.
Yes.
It's so odd to talk about being in a drought right now, but shoot, if we had something coming in tomorrow and we get 8 inches of rain, it's still going to flood. It doesn't matter if you're in a drought. You might not think that way, but that is still a reality that we haven't had last year, but maybe we'll see coming in the next few years.
Yeah, so the big question as we go into the season, we start getting our seasonal forecast. Colorado State does a seasonal forecast. Eastern Carolina University does a forecast. But one of our flagship universities here in the state, NC State, has been doing a hurricane season forecast. And we want to bring in the professor that's responsible for this season's forecast to talk a little bit about what we could expect in the 2026 Atlantic hurricane season. I want to welcome in Lian. He's the professor of atmospheric science, earth and marine sciences at NC State. And welcome in, Lian. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you, Jim and Tim. It's my pleasure to be here.
Well, talk a little bit about this upcoming season. You guys released your forecast. We can show the forecast here. Talk a little bit about some of the methodology that went into this season's forecast and why you guys expect the number of storms that you are currently forecasting.
All right. Well, we are using data-driven model, primarily looking at the past, what's happening in the environment, including the ocean environment, and what's happening in the atmosphere before April. And we've been doing this for 20 years now. And, in order to predict the future months ahead of time, we're looking for something that has a good memory. It turns out that the ocean has better memory than the atmosphere. So a lot of things we look at is from the ocean, including the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. And that's the primary drivers for, things to happen during the hurricane season.
So you use a lot of ocean modeling, I assume, and obviously one of the big things in the ocean of the worlds that we're looking at coming up this season is the development of this El Nino, right? It's gotten a lot of publicity already. Strong El Nino is forecast to develop. I think it's like over an 80 or 90% probability of an El Nino developing. Talk a little bit about how that El Nino could impact the upcoming Atlantic hurricane season.
Well, if you think about the physics, if an El Nino develops during the hurricane season, we would normally expect a less active season. That is because the El Nino over the eastern part of the Pacific increases the wind shear over the tropical Atlantic, which is not good for hurricane development. But in terms of forecasting what's going to happen during the hurricane season, the El Nino is something that can actually break the forecast because we don't know exactly what's going to happen during the hurricane season. Is it going to be coming right on time? Is the El Nino going to come during the peak season, a little early or a little late, a little stronger or a little late, a little weaker? So we're talking about trying to figure that out in March. And so that's a lot of uncertainty coming from that El Nino forecast itself. So although we know El Nino, if it happens during the peak season, it's going to lower the activity overall, but in terms of trying to forecast, that's a different story. The signals from the tropical Atlantic actually gives you a better chance of getting the forecast right, because during the preseason, in March and April, they actually have a better signal showing what's going to happen to the hurricanes during the hurricane season. So, also looking at historical data, there are years that you got El Nino, but we got a very active season. So it's not just when El Nino happens, they're going to have a lower activity. So that's what we see in our model. We put in situations like you have a strong El Nino, you have an El Nino coming a little early, or coming a little late, or not as strong. So we look at all those scenarios coming up with a probability and also called ensemble or averaging forecast. That's what we see from those numbers. They represent not just an El Nino year, but also what if El Nino doesn't come as expected or not as strong as expected. So we include those possible scenarios that you see the range of number, not just one number in our forecast. And in fact, those numbers, if you look at last year's forecast, is not much different from what we put out last year. And last year is close to the recent average. So that's what we are expecting. So it's going to be similar to the level of activity we had last year. And that's near the recent 30 years of average.
Dr. Scheer, you mentioned about the number of hurricanes that might be possible this year being similar to what happened last year. But one of the things that made last year so interesting for the United States is that none of the hurricanes hit the U.S. mainland at that strength, right? In fact, Chantal was maybe the biggest impact, and that came right in our backyard here in North Carolina. Is there any way this point in the year, March and April, like you're saying, is there any way to know where those storms might be going, or are we only looking at a level of activity instead?
The level of certainty decreases as we try to narrow down the area where the storm is going to be hit. We can look at those possibilities, but the certainty becomes lower. So in our model, we did see some differences in where the storm is going to be going. So one thing is we see the Gulf of Mexico is more close to average, and the Caribbean may be a little lower activity because of the El Nino. There are some regional differences.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see. And as we always kind of have this disclaimer, Dr. Shear, it's like, doesn't matter how many storms, it just takes one to make a bad season if it hits us directly. And so I think it's important to understand that these number of storms, if it's similar to last year, they could be all in a different location and could still end up being a rough year for us. But it'll be interesting to see. Before we leave you, one last question. Will you guys be doing an update to your seasonal forecast once we get into the season?
We normally don't, but we did a study recently. Actually, it shows if you combine NC State April forecast with NOAA's May forecast, it gives you the best possible skill. The May forecast from NOAA getting closer to the June 3rd starting date, or if you combine with the Colorado June update, so the combination or the average between NC State and NOAA, or between NC State and Colorado State, June forecasts are the best overall, better than any other individual models, or better than any other combinations of average. That's interesting finding,
Yeah, it's like an ensemble of the seasonal forecast. I love that.
Right.
It's a great way to look at it.
It's better than averaging all the models. Actually, just cherry picking the combinations that we found out with all kinds of combinations. The NC State plus NOAA and the NC State plus CSU gonna give you the best forecast.
Interesting. That's good to know. Well, thank you so much for coming on. A lot of folks are getting ready for the hurricane season, and it's a long haul. We're still a month away, but we know it goes all the way through November, and unfortunately, we're very, very aware of hurricanes here in the Carolinas now because of all impacts from previous storms. So thank you, Lian Shear. Thank you so much for coming on. We look forward to seeing how the season unfolds coming up in a month.
Well, thank you. My pleasure.
Yeah, Tim, really interesting, conversation there. And when we do these kind of seasonal forecasts, it is always interesting. Like you said, last year we had all these storms and none of them impacted the United States. And I always think of 1992 Hurricane Andrew, right? That's one of the most devastating storms that hit the U.S., hit Florida and Louisiana. That season, people forget, only 7 total storms in the Atlantic that season, but the first one was Andrew. So it's always a thing I like to slow people down, pump the brakes a little bit when you think inactive. I hate when sometimes this happens, this forecast will come out and people go, oh, it's going to be a better hurricane season or a worse. The number of storm doesn't indicate how bad or good a season is. It's really where they hit, right?
It doesn't, and like Dr. Shear was saying, the odds of predicting where they're going to go, or the skill in predicting where they're going to go, is a lot less than maybe predicting how many there might be. So just be ready and hope that they don't come this way. But if you're ready, you're never going to regret being ready. And we have a long time to get ready because, well, I guess not that long, a month away from the start of the season. But our peak is always in August and September around here.
Yeah, and one thing that I am very cautious of, because I think Colorado State does this now, and I think NOAA's even dabbled with it, kind of giving the odds of landfall in certain regions, like certain state boundaries. One of the things in the past, and I've seen a lot of people do this, is we get hyper-focused. Now, if you live on the coast of North and South Carolina, you're worried about landfalls there. But, Tim, for us in the Western Carolinas, the landfall location we dread is the Gulf Coast, right? The northern Gulf Coast, the Florida Panhandle. If you think about Ivan, Fred, Francis, Helene, the storms that are down there are the ones we need to watch more so in the Western Carolinas. And I think sometimes people let their guard down when they see a storm down there and go, oh, that's nowhere near the Carolina coast. It's near Florida or Louisiana or Alabama. That's the area we need to watch. So when I look at these forecasts, I tend to look down there to see if there's a favorable steering current for that location.
Yeah, and it's a reminder that, when we get into active storms and when they're approaching land, really look toward your local meteorologist. We're going to break down, is this one to worry about or is it not? You can't always just tell by the layman of looking at the map, because that cone might be going in a direction that doesn't look threatening to us, but we can tell you, are we going to get bad flooding? Is it going to extend beyond the cone like we saw with Helene, like we saw with many of these other ones? And that's something that can only be done a week ahead of time to 5 days ahead of time.
Yeah, very cautious. Before we leave today, we wanted to talk a little bit about some amazing, what we call UCG, user-generated content. You got the coolest. I'm a sucker for dust devils, Tim. I love them, and this might be the coolest one I've seen because it looks like a wedge tornado. It looks amazing. Talk about this, how you got this, and where this was, because this is amazing.
It's huge. So and the thing of it is, Brad, this is in the heart of Greensboro. So this is right in a busy part of town. It's right next to a highway. It's, for our viewers here in the Triad, this is on Green Valley Road. It's right near where there used to be a hospital at this site, a smaller, network hospital.
Yeah.
And they tore down the hospital, so now it's a big construction site. So you have a big open area of dirt where they're building apartments and new shops are going to go up here. So what's going on today? The sun is heating up the earth. It's heating that dirt up really, really strongly. That dirt has no moisture in it right now because we're in a horrible drought. So you're getting these fast, rapidly rising currents of air, and you're getting this swirling motion. And it looks huge. It really looks huge. This was taken from a nearby building. Kenny and his coworker, they sent this to me and they said, "What are we looking at? Is this a tornado?" And the answer is yes and no. It looks similar with the whirlwind structure, but we do call these dust devils. They're formed in a different way. And Brad, we've seen a number of these since the drought began in North Carolina. Others have been at things like baseball fields, softball fields, anywhere where you're getting some really strong heating. You can develop this localized pressure local area of low pressure, and then when the air rushes in to fill in the gaps, you get that twisting motion. But like you said, this is one of the more cool examples I've seen. A bigger dust devil than usual.
Yeah, and actually, like, it looks slower moving too because it was so broad, like it was lumbering almost. It's that was really cool. When I saw that, I'm like, oh, I got to retweet this immediately because that is just amazing. Just great video. Yeah, send those in, guys. We love those things. So if you see Dust Devil, shoot the video and send it to Tim and I. We love to dissect those and show them with other people. So we're out of time today. It's only Monday. We got to talk about rain in the next couple of days. That'll be our topic tomorrow. So stick around.
That's right.